all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
In the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time.
Grand rising to everyone. How's everyone doing? This is breaking news. We're waiting on Tavis Smiley to come back from off of commercial break.
Tavis Smiley, I'm glad to have you tuned in today. So we have delivered as promised on letting you in on the know regarding who Dr. Cornel West, the independent candidate president, has chosen as his running mate. Her name is Dr. Melina Abdullah. She joins us live in studio now, and I was just telling Melina before we came on the air live that if my recollection serves me properly, the last time I saw the two of you together, I just saw Dr. West a few days ago. For that matter, I saw you a few days ago. But the last time I saw the two of you together, we were all on stage, you, Dr. West, Chuck D, and me, at the 10th anniversary celebration of Black Lives Matter. I had no idea all those months ago that this might be in the offing. So let me start by saying congratulations, I think. This is about to be a serious journey for you, so congratulations. But just tell me, I want to give you a chance. Before you talk about yourself, tell me why, when Dr. West, I assume, reached out to you, you accepted his entreaty.
So let me just say thank you, Tavis. During the break, I just shared that, in a lot of ways, you're responsible for this. I met Dr. West for the first time when I was an undergrad at Howard. And then he came and spoke when I was chair of the Department of NFNC Studies at Cal State LA. And we stayed in loose contact, but you brought us together July of 2023 for the 10-year anniversary of Black Lives Matter. And I've been keeping up with this campaign, been really, really inspired. I mean, a platform of truth, love, and justice. What kind of platform is that? How can you not get behind that platform? And then, of course, I regard him, and many of us regard him as one of the most brilliant people to ever walk this earth. And so I've been following him and had been really enthusiastic about his candidacy, and just was excited to be able to share space with him, to be inspired by him, to sit in his wisdom, and was not expecting the phone call that I got last week at all. Like, it was the furthest thing from my mind. And then he and his wife, Anahita, asked, and immediately my heart just soared. And I haven't felt that kind of life-giving energy since the last child I had. My youngest child is 14. And my soul and my spirit, and it felt as though God was speaking to me, said yes immediately, like shouted yes. And then I had to pull myself back into myself and say, okay, now you got to move based on your mind too. You have one of those
Mhm,
too.
mhm,
And so I had to have conversations with my children whose souls also soared,
mhm.
and my mother, who you know how close I
Indeed.
am with my mother
Mm,
and my family. And then, of course, Black Lives Matter leadership and our chapters, as well as the core team. We talked about what it would mean, and everybody was just over the moon. Sister Jan Williams, one of our core team members, this is how I knew it was right, because she started shoulder shimmying. So, so I was like, now that's a yes.
Oh no, you got the shoulder shimmy. You're doing something now.
Right.
And
right.
by the way, speaking of shoulder shimmy, have you ever seen Dr. West dance?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you keep up with him?
No.
Okay.
Can you keep up with him?
No.
But his love for
Yeah.
music and culture
Uh-huh.
and people beyond his brilliance,
Yeah.
right, is really, it's his, there's lots of smart people. Not all of them are righteous, right?
Mhm.
There's lots of brilliant people. Not all of them are spirit led or, followers of God. And I want to be clear also, I believe it's divine timing, because today, that I identify as Muslim.
Mhm.
Today is Eid, which is the holiest day for Muslims. And Eid could have come tomorrow or it could have come yesterday, but Eid came today.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned this is the first all black ticket. I believe it's also the first ticket with a Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got questions about that, as you well know,
Mhm.
because you know me.
Mhm.
But let me just take a few minutes here. I want to make the most of our time here and move through this as swiftly as I can. There's a lot to cover in 1 hour, and of course, you'll be doing countless interviews beyond today. So I'm going to get mine in today while I can. Just take a couple minutes to tell the audience about you. Tell them about your backstory. Dr. West mentioned, of course, you're an academic, you're a professor, you've chaired the Pan African Studies Department at Cal State LA. So you're obviously involved, one of the founders of the founder of Black Lives Matter LA. So we know something about your backstory, but tell us a bit more about Melina Abdullah. We know you got some kids. Tell me about, you went to Howard. You've weaved in a few things, but tell me more about you.
Sure. Well, I mean, the long and short of it is that I am Grandma Rachel's great, 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 great granddaughter, right? The first ancestor in my family to be brought into Sabine Pass, Texas, as an enslaved woman. And my middle name is Rachel, after her. And so everything that I do seeks to uplift her, seeks to uplift my mama, Linda Zeeley Fowler, Ryman Blackston. She got a lot of last names,
Yes, she
right?
does.
I pray that I honor them, right? I start off as a daughter of God and a granddaughter of Rachel, of Grandma Mac, of Grandma Lulu, of Grandma Jessie. And that's who I seek to be. I seek to be a good mother and friend and comrade to my children. My children are 20, 17, and 14, and we are a team. My children are also co-founders of the Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard. So especially my oldest daughter, but now my middle child as well, are organizers in their own right. Tandiwe, my 20-year-old who's at Howard University, she is probably better known for some of her work than I am. And so I just am proud, but also I feel a tremendous sense of responsibility. And I also step into this recognizing that it is not me. I'm grateful to be a spokesperson, but I also carry a movement with me. And so while my name is the name on the ticket, I also carry Baba Akili with me, right? I carry many others with me. We got the permission of Baba Hank Jones, who is my other dad, right? Who's one of the San Francisco 8 former Black Panther. I also carry with me the spirits of all of those on whose behalf we struggle. So today, April 10th, is the 6th anniversary of Grishario Mack, and I think it's important to say his name. He was a Black father of 2 who was murdered just down the street by LAPD inside the Crenshaw Baldwin Hills Mall. And so I come into this as one who seeks to abide by the will of the Most High and to do righteous work. If I have a mantra, I do have a mantra. My mantra is just do the work and live as righteously as possible. And so that's what I seek to do. And yes, I'm a mom. I'm a single mama. I'm a lover of music. I got one tattoo, My Prince. I'm a
Yeah,
Prince lover.
She's a Prince fan. She's a Prince fan. We have that in common, obviously. Dr. West, let me bring you back into this. I'm going to weave and bob throughout this conversation. You obviously are not surprised. You knew that Dr. Abdullah identified as Muslim when you chose her to be your running mate. Is that risky in a moment like this? Dr. West, can you hear me? 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 Technical issues. As we say, the devil is a lie. We're going to get that fixed. We can't have a conversation and not hear Dr. West. Let me just ask you that question, though, Melina. Let me tweak it a bit. Dr. West chose you. Obviously, he knew you were Muslim when he chose you. What does it mean to be identified regarding your faith as Muslim, running for one of the highest offices in the land in this particular American moment?
I think it's really important and really powerful, right? That when we talk about Islam, we talk about people who submit to the will of God, right? And that's who I am. I'm a follower of God. Now, I know my mother is probably listening, and she would want me to say also that I was raised at Greater Faith Baptist Church. So to be Muslim doesn't mean
that's a great church name, Greater Faith.
Greater Faith
I love
Baptist
it.
Church.
Greater Faith. All right.
Yes. And so it's important to say that Christianity and Islam and every other faith, if you think about the core of who we are as spiritual people, we're all aligned. And so to be a Muslim doesn't mean to be not Christian. It means to be moving forward. I've chosen this particular path for myself, but people of faith all want the same thing. We want peace, we want truth, we want love, and we want justice.
Yeah. Dr. West, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, as they say? Okay, we got problems. We're going to figure that out at the break, at the bottom of this hour. But thankfully, Melina Abdullah is in studio. She has been chosen, Dr. Melina Abdullah, give her props, has been chosen by Dr. West as his running mate in this campaign for the White House. And so I'm pleased, again, to have her in studio. Yesterday, the West Abdullah Now campaign put a statement out regarding this announcement being made today. And the statement said that the candidate, they didn't give your name, of course, that was going to happen today. They didn't identify you, but they made it clear that you were West Coast based. And they made it clear that, like Dr. West, you had never before run for elective office. I don't know if that was a preemptive strike or if that is a badge of honor. I guess you will tell me. But what does it mean to have two, again, brilliant African Americans, two brilliant professors, two committed people to love and justice, run for these two high offices, but neither of you have ever, prior to now, run for elective office? That's quite a place to start at the top, you know?
Yeah, well, I think that both of us want to disrupt the narrative that you have only two choices, or want to say, you know, the world tries to tell us that we're tethered to certain ideas that we don't have to be tethered to. We can be expansive and imaginative, right? We can remember that we live in a world of abundance where people can have all of what they need and most of what they want. And so we enter this really as faithful people, since we've been talking about faith, as faithful people who are not more pragmatist than we are faithful. And so we're building a campaign where we say, you know, you should be able to have just one job and earn enough to pay your rent or your mortgage, right? We should have an educational system where education for all, and I mean all the way from preschool through grad school, should be accessible to everyone. And the kind of education that you get is liberatory, right? We can have the kind of world where we say, you know, safety comes from building strong communities, not from putting more police on trains and buses and in schools, right? And so we enter this race as people who are thinkers. That's what we're paid to do. My actual paycheck comes from teaching and thinking and writing. And Dr. West, who I know you've had the great opportunity to write with, no one is more creative and imaginative and brilliant in his writing and thinking than Dr. Cornel West.
We mentioned Black Lives Matter early. It's impossible to mention your name without connecting it to Black Lives Matter. What does it mean practically that you are now running for vice president with Dr. West? Are you stepping away from BLM? What does it mean for your work there? Are the chapters going to get political? To my knowledge, and you know more than I do, this is your lane, not mine. I don't know that BLM has ever endorsed anybody for office. What does all this mean for Black Lives Matter across the country?
So it means that we have an elevated platform. It means that I will never step away from Black Lives Matter. And I mean Black Lives Matter grassroots, which is the boots on the ground for Black Lives Matter, 33 chapters around the country. And we're bringing on 9 new chapters this year, right? I will never step back from that. I will never step back for saying we must end state-sanctioned violence against Black people and work towards Black freedom. That said, Black Lives Matter does not endorse candidates, right? So Black Lives Matter will not be endorsing me. People within Black Lives Matter, my prayer and hope is that they'll come with us. But the agenda, the Black Lives Matter agenda of ending state-sanctioned violence, right? Of building a world where our children and our people can live and walk freely comes with me into this race. Does Black Lives Matter, your affiliation with them, bring some baggage to the West Abdullah campaign? You referenced it a moment ago. There's Black Lives Matter grassroots. There's another iteration. You can explain this. We've all been reading about these lawsuits between these two organizations. We've read about issues regarding money and how money was spent. Does that baggage burden the West Abdullah campaign? So there's one lawsuit, or was one lawsuit, Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which is the boots on the ground, my side of things. We had our resources and platforms stolen by this other entity, which is comprised of highly paid consultants, not organizers. And so we sued for our resources back. Unfortunately, that lawsuit was blocked by something called an anti-SLAPP motion. So there are no suits against our side of things. Black Lives Matter Grassroots is the authentic boots on the ground. It's what we intended to do when we birthed this movement, right? I think some people might see it as baggage, but I actually see the work and the experience of organizing and the kind of authenticity of our work as being something that actually fuels this campaign. I know that as we move forward, organizing is essential. I've been organizing a long time. Yeah. So, we'll bring those skill sets as well as that vision.
That's my read of this. I can be wrong, but I think I'm right about this. I think that what you bring to this ticket is an organizational backstory. You obviously have thousands of friends all across the country through this Black Lives Matter Grassroots Network. And so I think that might be advantageous for the campaign, but that's just me. A lot more ground to cover. We'll get this technical issue worked out with Dr. West. We can hear his voice, even if he's on the phone. You're going to hear Dr. West again, I promise you, as he joins Dr. Melina Abdullah, his choice for running mate for president of these United States. You are listening when we come forward to Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Cornel West has chosen Dr. Melina Abdullah as his vice presidential candidate. He is slated to talk right after this commercial break. Tavis Smiley right now is on commercial break, so I thought I'd just go ahead and say Grand Rising, hello to you wherever you are. Breaking news, Dr. Cornel West, independent presidential candidate for 2024, has announced his running mate. His running mate is Dr. Melina Abdullah. He has chosen Dr. Melina Abdullah as his vice president running mate. And so it's pleasing to my eyes to see that he has chosen a female, and then she is a sister girl as well. So we're waiting to hear from Dr. West. He was having technical difficulties earlier. Hopefully we can get that matter resolved, and we'll hear his reasoning behind his choice of Dr. Melina Abdullah for his vice president vice presidential running mate. So congratulations to Dr. Molina. If you're just now tuning in, she previously gave a bit about how she felt and was taken aback on last week when Dr. Cornel West approached her and asked her to join in with him with this fight for truth, justice, and liberation and freedom in the freedom justice movement, like Dr. Cornel West likes to say. So like I said, we're waiting for Tavis Smiley to come back off of commercial break, and then we're expected to hear Dr. Cornel West's reasoning for choosing Dr. Molina Abdullah. Let's go ahead and listen in and see what we got going on here.
The defense can be without Anthony Davis. Davis missed the game with an eye injury.
Yeah, so they're still doing some advertisements and whatnot, but yeah, so that's great news. Dr. Cornel West has picked a female, and he has also picked a sister girl, and so I'm pleased with that. Still yet, there's not a lot of buzz about Dr. Cornel West in the mainstream media. I just find it so very heartbreaking that they have placed everyone in this this political box. Either you're red or you're blue, and even though that we're supposed to be of light of the mindset that this is a republic and that we're independent free thinkers, it's surprising that the independents are not placed on the ballot just as assured as a Democrat or a Republican. And I hear tell that there are a lot of stipulations and hurdles that one must have to go through in order to get your name even placed on the on the ballot. And Dr. Cornel West is now facing that uphill battle. He is on the ballot on a couple of states. However, he has a long uphill battle to go, particularly here in Texas, where I'm located. And then, I also note that there are a number of other large states with large populations where he has to try to make a all-out push to just get his name on the ballot. So for the sake of democracy, so-called democracy and free will of vote, I think that it's a shame that everyone don't have a chance to vote for the candidate of their choice. Like, independents from the gate should be on the ticket to vote. So let's go back and listen in again and see if they're
up to 30% off today.
Wow. They're still on commercial break, so this must be like a 5 or 10 minute commercial break. But like I was saying, I think that it's very, very, very disappointing to think that we live in a society whereby if individuals are espousing to run for the leader, run as the freedom of the new world, or the free world, as we say, then they have to go through such hard time to get the name on the ballot, so that everyone can have an opportunity to say, well, this is a formidable candidate that I would like to cast my vote for. But and it takes a lot of money as well. And so hopefully one day here soon we'll get a chance to hear from a candidate, rather a politician that's running in this election, to give us just a ballpark figure of what is it looking like as far as having to have finances to even participate in the so-called political process. So once again, it just shows you how our system is basically one-sided and geared towards those who have the resources, right? So if you're poor and struggling, you don't have a lot of money, chances are you won't be able to run for any political office, because you won't be able to pour in the money for marketing, let alone just get on the ballot. So let's see if they're still in commercial break.
Based on average U.S. consumer usage at...
Wow, yeah. So they're still on commercial break. We're tuned into the Tavis Smiley Show. Like you see there on your screen, KBLA 1580 AM Talk Radio, and Tavis Smiley is streaming live to his YouTube channel, and he has Dr. Cornel West on. Dr. Cornel West has just announced that his vice presidential candidate running mate pick is Dr. Melina Abdullah. That's right. Cornel West has chosen Dr. Melina Abdullah as his running mate. And so if Dr. Cornel West is elected as the president of the United States in 2024, then Dr. Melina Abdullah will be the first sitting vice president. And she says proudly she is a Muslim. So I will just love to see how the right-wing pundits are going to react to that bit of news. But hey, this is America. So we're going to see if everyone is free to run. Okay, here we go.
You just tuned in. That Dr. West has selected his running mate for his campaign for the White House. Her name is Melina Abdullah. She is Dr. Melina Abdullah. And we were sort of laughing earlier about the fact that this is not laughing, it's a serious business. This is the first all-black ticket, to my knowledge, running for the White House. Certainly the first ticket with 2 PhDs on it. And if that ain't enough, I was just saying to Melina, something just hit me, Dr. Abdullah. I call her Melina all the time. Now that she's a vice presidential candidate, I got to start calling her
No,
Dr.
you don't.
Abdullah. But I was just saying to Dr. Abdullah that I know somebody else who also went to Howard, is an AKA, is from Northern California, and just happens to be the current vice president. How funny is that?
It's striking, but that's about all that we have in common.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and then we also talked about we're both Too Short fans allegedly, but
Yeah.
I think that I probably can get deeper in the cuts than Kamala Harris can.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are many, many things y'all disagree on. We'll talk about some of that as we move through this hour, given the time I have left. Dr. West, I'm going to do this for the third time. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you there, brother. And it's a joy to hear you and Sister Melina having a wonderful conversation. I just apologize for not being able to
No. It's this
connected.
This is live radio. It's technology. Sadly, sometimes things happen. We tried to work this out. Dr. West happens to be on the East Coast today. Dr. Abdullah is here on the West Coast, and we tried to work this out, but we had some sense that this story.
Oh, no, we always work. We work with what we got.
That's right. That's right.
Work with what we got.
We didn't want the story to get out before we could get on the air with it, so we just.
Well, I wanted to make sure this story came from your show.
No,
I don't care what form or what presentation it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate that.
This is about struggle, though, brother. This is, my mind very much is on Brother Dexter Reed, though, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just shot 96 times in Chicago now, the kind of thing that Sister Melina's been fighting on the street, writing both scholarly works, but also going to jail.
Yeah.
But the brother shot 96 times. You see what I mean? See, that's really what serious politics is about. How do you keep the focus on the suffering, alleviating the suffering by raising our voices in such a way that we can generate some social motion to do something about it? His precious parents have tears in their eyes, and we speak to those tears. Those police must be accountable. And when we talk about the abolition of any form of oppression that gets in the way of the precious humanity and the priceless sanctity of human beings beginning on the chocolate side of town. We want to abolish police murder, abolish police brutality. We want to abolish poverty. We want to abolish homelessness. We want to abolish this greed that we're seeing organized on Wall Street and Pentagon and Silicon Valley. Those are the things that myself and Sister Melina will be fighting for day in, day out, week in, week out. And that's where we're coming from. That's what this campaign is all about, my brother.
I'm glad you went there. Let me follow up right quick with this. Watching my time, I want to cover some more ground here. Black Lives Matter, which does not speak for Melina Abdullah, and at this point, she's speaking for the campaign and not BLM. I understand that distinction. But I asked her when we couldn't hear you moments ago about whether or not any of the BLM storyline, narrative might become baggage for the campaign. Let me just ask you a point blank question, given what you've just said about Brother Dexter Reed being shot 96 times. How do you square the notion of police accountability, 21st century policing that is constitutional, with the call that many have made, including those in BLM, for the abolishing of police?
Well, one, the Black Freedom Movement has always had abolition at its center. We wanted to abolish slavery. That's Sojourner Truth. That's Harriet Tubman. That's Frederick Douglass. Then we wanted to abolish Jim and Jane Crow. That's Ida B. Wells Barnett. That's W.E. Du Bois. That's NAACP at its best. Then we want to abolish predatory capitalist processes that are crushing people. That's what Huey Newton was about. That's what Erica Higgins was about. Abolition is at the center. So the question is, what are we talking about abolishing? All of us should want to abolish police murder, police brutality, abolishing the lack of accountability of police. And we want to be constructive. We want community control. We want civic oversight so that there's forms of safety in our communities, beginning with the hood. Unfortunately, policing on chocolate sides of towns in the hood too often are associated with repression and containment. And on the rich vanilla side of town, it's about protect and serve. No, we want to abolish all forms of domination that get in the way of our humanity. We want to abolish mass incarceration the way it's presently constituted. How can anybody support solitary confinement and isolation that way? We want to abolish the unfairness and the injustice so that Mumia Abdul-Jamal, we move toward his birthday, so that he's able to be treated fairly and be able to go free. That's the kind of language that's necessary. And any time any person or any movement has a love of poor and working people, and especially a love of Black poor and working people, that's never a burden for me.
Yeah.
That's why I'm blessed to be working with Sister Melina.
Yeah.
She's a love warrior. Yeah. She's a love warrior. That ain't no burden for me. That might be a burden for the mainstream. That might be a burden for people trying to make trying to make their way in and out. No. Anybody in love with the people ain't no burden for me, my brother.
I got 2 minutes here, Dr. West. Let me ask you this, and we can continue when we come forward. What does it mean that you have chosen someone, we were talking about this earlier, who's not just a Muslim? Many people will have commentary about that in the days ahead, I am certain. But you chose someone who, like yourself, has never run for elective office, and here you are now running for president and vice president. How do you respond to those who say, why run if you've never run before?
Well, brother, Sister Melina and I have been running for justice for the last number of decades. I'm much older than she is. I ain't going to go into all that. I met her when she was a grade student at Howard University with Julian Bailey and the others. So, But most of her life she's been running for justice. We need people to run for office who are already running for justice. Now, I'm running for Jesus. She's running for Allah. That's a beautiful thing. You see, I do not exist without Malcolm X. I don't exist without Muhammad Ali. I don't exist without Naima Coltrane, the first wife of John Coltrane, who was so magnificent in her own way, just like the second wife, Alice, was a Hindu. I don't exist without Yusuf Lateef. So that Melina is an Allah-loving, free Black woman, womanist, looking at the world through the lens of the doings and sufferings of Black women. I'm a Jesus-loving, free Black man. We overlap in a magnificent way, and in that regard, I think I'm very proud to be running with my dear Black womanist, Muslim, freedom fighter, love warrior, as I said before. And we gonna turn things around. I can tell you that right now. We're gonna make the connection of what's going on in Gaza with what happened to Brother Dexter Reed. Why? Because we want to abolish occupation. We want to abolish domination. We want to abolish any form of racist ideology that believes that a Palestinian life doesn't have the same value as a white life or Israeli life or any other life. That's where we are coming from, my brother.
It's official. Dr. Cornel West has chosen his running mate for vice president. Her name is Dr. Melina Abdullah. More with Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest
Well, there you have it once again. Dr. Cornel West, presidential candidate for this upcoming election 2024, has chosen Dr. Melina Abdullah as his vice presidential candidate running mate. And he made that announcement here on Tavis Smiley. You can continue to listen to the rest of that interview with Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Abdullah on the Tavis Smiley podcast at KBLA 1580 AM on YouTube, or go over to Dr. Cornel West 2024 YouTube channel, and he's also streaming it live on his channel. But right now, Achoti has to go and tend to some other business. But I thank you for tuning in to this breaking news with news, facts, and comments. I'm Achoti Tamar, and wishing you all a very, very blessed day. Shalom.